Hello, everybody. Welcome to Automating Legal Ops at Olive AI. I'm Ian Gosling. I'm one of the founders of AUTTO. And we've been joined today, and we're delighted to say we've been joined today by Charlette Sinclair, who is all of the way over in Portland, Oregon, where she works with Olive AI, who is an innovative healthcare business. Great to see everybody here today. I can see a few familiar names, so it's great to see you all, and also some new names. So we're delighted to have you here today. So this is gonna last about half an hour, and at the end of that, we will have some questions. So please do feel free to pop your questions in the questions tab on the right of the chat, and in the meanwhile, we will get started. So, Charlotte, perhaps you could introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your experience and what it's like. What's the day-to-day for a legal ops specialist?
Yeah, thanks, Ian. Thanks for having me. It's always fun talking shop with you. I am Charlette Sinclair. I've been a paralegal for a little over a decade now. I started out in personal injury, specialized in pre-litigation, and then over the last couple of years moved into the legal ops space for commercial contracting. I also had the pleasure of, dabbling in a few other legal industries, but the personal injury space led me to healthcare innovation, and I luckily found Olive AI, and I am here now working with their in-house general counsel on managing their commercial contracting and ensuring that our lawyers have everything that they need to make meaningful engagements with our customers and vendors alike.
Fantastic. Well, I think this subject of legal ops is really fascinating, and I thought it might be a useful starting point for us to sort of define what is legal ops. And for those of you who aren't familiar with the term, it was coined really by the Corporate Legal Operations Consortium, or at least popularized by them, which was a group of general counsels at large international firms who set out to change the way general counsel's offices were operated and were often perceived within organizations. And I think they've set out a great definition of what legal ops is. Legal operations describes a set of business processes, activities, and the professionals that enable legal departments to serve their customers more effectively by applying business and technical practices. And I think there are some really important terms in that. First of all, there is customers, and I think it's important for legal ops teams to be seen to treat their internal stakeholders as customers. They are providing a service to them, and it's a service delivery mechanism, and that mechanism is delivered by processes. And I think this focus on processes and optimizing these processes with those business and technology practices is really fundamental to what legal operations is about. It's about efficiency. It's about process and consistency, perhaps in a way that some other types of legal practice are less so. The things that Clock have done is they have identified 12 core competencies for legal operations, and in particular there are four at what they call their foundational level. There's financial management and vendor management, which we're not really going to touch on today, but what we're really going to focus on is two of these foundations: is cross-functional alignment and technology and process support. Well, naturally, we're a technology provider, so you'd expect us to want to talk about that. But I think this issue of cross-functional alignment is really, really important. And it's one that's really come to the fore in the discussions that Charlotte and I have had over the last few months as they've brought in AUTTO into the business. what I'd like to do is play what I've heard from you, Charlotte, Matt, and then perhaps ask you to sort of explain to us how that fits into Olive. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure does.
So what I've heard from you really in terms of, if we take three departments we've talked with at Olive, and we talk about what their needs are, you could summarize them very simply like this. Sales need it quick. They need those contracts. They need that paperwork turned around quickly because they've got targets to hit. And as Olive is a very rapidly growing and scaling business. But legal need it to be correct. This is a business with significant data responsibilities, applying AI and robotic process automation to health data. That's personal and sensitive stuff. And importantly, IT need the output of that contract, the output of that information that they're gathering through the sales and compliance process to be in the right place.
Right.
Charlotte, how does that, does that reflect what you're hearing?
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of across the board, especially when it comes to commercial contracting, like I said, there's legal operations in every type of legal department, especially in-house. You always have to make sure that your internal processes are up to speed with your business and the goals of your business. But especially when it comes to contracting, like you said, the sales team is out there engaging with some of the top healthcare providers in the country. These are huge hospitals. These are really busy doctors. They're trying to carve out this huge space for some innovative technology, and they really do. They don't just need it quick. They need it accurate. They need it to reflect all of the services that they're offering and then that we want to offer. So yeah, we want to enable the sales department and our representatives of Olive. We want to empower them really to have those tools, to have those contracts, to share with those providers so that we can make those meaningful relationships. And of course, they want to get it done fast. We have goals, we have internal goals, but more importantly, the healthcare industry as a space, we have a serious need. And so our sales team is super motivated to get out there and spread the Olive word. So like you said, when it comes to compliance, legal's right there next to them, making sure that everything we do, especially if it's a new service, it gets the attention that it needs and it gets a really thoughtful review. So we have really been trying, most importantly, to provide our internal teams also with that data. So we want to give our small but mighty legal team with the same kind of numbers that the sales team is getting. Essentially, we want to know, what is stalling us and who works best on what types of agreements and how can we improve our internal turnaround time. And like you said earlier, how can we really service our internal clients and customers who ultimately are, our sales representatives, our representatives of Olive and our products and services. So yeah, we need to have the right data in the right place, but we also need to have those metrics to report on for future goals and for future development.
So what I'd like to do now is perhaps hand over to you, and perhaps you can talk to us a little bit about the big audacious goal that Olive has and how that cascades down through the business and leads to legal operations, and talk about that alignment not only from within departments, but in terms of the corporate goals.
Yeah, absolutely. So it started out with our founder and visionary CEO, Sean Lane. He actually started as an intelligence officer for the Air Force before realizing this huge need in the healthcare space, and that problem that he noticed was that we're wasting $1 trillion in healthcare administrative tasks. And so we would like to take back that time. We want to give those providers their time back. We want to take the mundane tasks out of their day-to-day. We implement those robotic process automation tools and really connect the dots and build the internet of healthcare is what we're going for. So we're trying to get in. I think we have almost over 600 hospitals across the United States. We are the leading technology platform as a service is what we're moving towards. And artificial intelligence as a service, and again, moving towards that goal of building the internet of healthcare. So our CEO has done a really great job of motivating us. Like I said, our sales team is extremely motivated, not just to better the healthcare industry, but also to get this exciting technology in the hands of providers and also patients. We want to connect the dots there. So really what we've done, what I'm helping do with Legal Ops, is connect the employees, all of team members with in-house legal. We want to give them that seamless connection to make a general request, whether it just be schedule a meeting, ask questions about a certain engagement or a certain service or product that we're thinking about. So we want to give them that seamless connection, and we want to do it fast. And so I was really impressed when I came to this team. Like I said, I've been on a few other larger teams, but this one is small but agile, and they are really remarkable in how they really get things done quickly, and they've managed to keep Olive sort of feeling and operating like a small business. Only we scaled from, I think, like 300 employees during COVID last year to, I think we're at 800 now, with plans to grow. So as you can imagine, our legal team really needed better access to the enterprise, and we needed sales to, again, feel empowered and feel like they had that direct connection to legal, and really just reduce the time that they were spending trying to gather, like the templates they thought they might need, or doing all that back work and all the legwork trying to get the paperwork straightened out, when really that's what legal is here for. So we're trying to cut out those administrative tasks, not just for our customers and for the healthcare space, but we want to do it internally. That's where it starts. So we want to make sure that our processes are all smooth and ensuring compliance by making those rules and making sure that the sales team, follows a certain procedure in order to submit a certain type of request, and making sure that request gets delegated to the right subject matter expert for legal review. So yeah, really sorry, go ahead.
And so really what that sort of goal of efficiency in the whole healthcare industry has been is kind of turned into a cultural aspect of what you do as a business, and within legal operations in particular. There's an alignment between that, let's drive $1 trillion of savings out of the US healthcare system, with let's make sure everything we do as a business is efficient, and in terms of time and money as well.
Yep. And accurate. And so I think I told you, I pulled a stat that you posted on LinkedIn about sales teams actually spending less than 34% on actually selling, I think. And I found the Forbes article, essentially it's just wasted technology. So yeah, so 62.8% of time is spent on technology and the emails and just the day-to-day. And I've been in sales before, and so I understand that there is always that that pressure to make those connections, but it's difficult with all of these new software and this and that you have to connect to all of your other platforms, and they're constantly changing, sometimes for the better and sometimes really not. So yeah, we're trying to take that mundane, those tasks away from our lawyers to really get the value back for the legal review. We want to get our heads down and do some red line and research and really start focusing more of our time and our resources on what's important to our goal.
And so when you've set out to implement AUTTO for the first time, can you tell us a little bit about your first use cases and what you've focused on in that implementation?
Yep. So just general contract requests was really the easiest one, just getting that touch to legal. We just wanted to make sure that our sales reps knew what type of contract they needed and when, and that they had direct access to request that with legal. We also used it the instant need that we thought of and we are hoping to resolve really quickly with AUTTO is that cross-functional alignment, is sending out those notification emails and getting the other departments connected so that we get those layers of approval that we require in this space. We're dealing with cutting edge technology, and of course there's always compliance and other things that come into that. So yeah, that's definitely going to be a huge time saver, and also help us just stay in compliance and keep to our processes.
So there's a focus not only on getting that, the paperwork needed to close the sale done, but also the compliance, regulatory, and internal approvals processes, and getting those all done in an integrated way. Is that right?
Yep, absolutely. And especially when it comes to, we have 800 employees now, we want to make sure that all teams are notified. It definitely takes a village. All of it's not just legal when it comes down to engaging with new customers. So we definitely keep all the other divisions in the loop, but with that many people on board, it's hard to, get on the megaphone and say, hey, guess what? We've got this new thing. Here's what we're going to do. So yeah, that's really allowed us to, no worries.
We appear to be having a problem with our slides here, ladies and gentlemen, because this slide doesn't look like this when it's properly presented. So I'm not quite sure what's happened. I'm going to stop sharing this and see if we can get it up and running again.
Well, that was a screenshot just showing you sort of the branding. And one of the things that I do like about AUTTO is that we are able to make that workflow and that automated form look like Olive. So yeah.
Let's see if we can. No, it doesn't want to do it. Let's see if we can do this any better. No, it's not okay. Cooperating with us today.
No.
One of the things that we also talked about on our alignment slide here is that the data needs to be in the right place. Can you talk a little bit about what that means in a real context in Olive, in terms of your internal systems and also other enterprise systems you have in place?
Yeah, for contracting, it's usually turnaround time. We want to reduce our turnaround time. We want to make sure that we're getting these customers engaged with our services as soon as possible so that we can start implementing the tools. But also, we want to make sure that our internal processes are also in alignment with our goals as well. So I think using AUTTO and seeing that data, we'll be able to pinpoint, okay, well, what's taking the longest? Where can we, use one of our subject matter experts to really educate the sales team? Or how can we, refocus on how we're leading them into the contracting process? So we're really focusing on our internal metrics, like I said, to make sure that our performance is good enough and is up to snuff for our team, because they deserve it. They're out here building all this exciting technology, and the least we could do is get them a beautiful contract to match. So we're trying to do that as quickly and as accurately as possible, and really with the best interest of the healthcare industry and Olive in mind.
And so the data flow that we've discussed over the last few weeks has really been is really quite interesting, because it's taking information from Salesforce, which is your core source of truth for your customers, and bringing it into AUTTO and using it to take the sales team through a simple workflows that enable them to access the services and drafting and that they need, and then delivering that information back into Salesforce. Is there, a couple of questions? Can you talk to us a little bit about, how that kind of integration works for you guys in a practical sense? What the sales team get to see, and how that helps you keep your data governance, ensuring that single source of truth is kept up to date without taking up the sales team's time.
Yes, and that's the key. We've really been lucky to have that integration, because keeping it's going to be a good marriage between the two. Our systems, what's native to our team, what we already know how to use it. Like you said, our data is there, so that saves us time as well. But really, it allows us to not just focus more time on the contracting process, but it allows us to better document, give better visibility to the rest of the team, and helps us, keep track of all the terms that we also need to report on for compliance issues. And again, just to make sure that we can track our performance and make sure that we're getting the team what they need in a timely manner.
Excellent. When you're, bringing in a new system into an organization, you can often encounter a little bit of friction with other departments. Oh no, here's not another piece of technology. This is the last thing I need. How's that process been bringing AUTTO into Olive?
So far, so good in my experience, and we've worked together in another space as well. So far it's been really positive. And I think one of the reasons why is because of the user interface. It's clean and friendly, and we get to build it so that it looks like our platform. We can brand it. It looks familiar to them. It's easy to use. And that is also because it's easy to adjust. So having that ability to go back and reword the questions and formulate them in a manner that the team recognizes. Maybe they, I don't want to say code words, but you use the lingo that your team is familiar with, and you start to get somewhere. So being able to customize those questions and really tailor the workflow and direct them, not just with the question, but providing them that SME, like a link to a slideshow, or just giving them those tools within the actual form has really helped, because I think they're starting to slowly, it's always, everyone's like, what, another new tool? But the benefit here at Olive, I think, is that we're taking one out. So we're replacing one that was much more cumbersome with one more that you're now, integrating with our Salesforce. So it's really allowing us to sort of trim down our software for now and give them that user interface that they're familiar with, so that they can go through with speed.
And also, I was interested, it's interesting, we spent some time talking with your colleague Kirsten, who's your CRM manager and in charge of your Salesforce implementation.
A revenue lead, yeah.
And that's, Salesforce is a massively powerful and highly customizable platform. And I think, how has she found it being able to build those integrations herself into Salesforce?
Yeah, so far so good. She said once she got in there and was able to get the API loaded, it was fairly straightforward. So that, of course, is always nice to hear, because our team is just busy with a lot of other things, especially Kirsten. She's a rock star. So that was music to my ears. Yes, thank you.
Fantastic. Well, look, I think it's, we're at the early stages of this implementation. So are there particular measures that you're going to be looking at in terms of how successful this implementation is? What are the specific metrics you'll be tracking?
Yeah, number one, how fast we can get the contract turned back around, give it back to sales, and make it a deliverable for the customer. So turnaround time, number one. But also, we're going to be paying attention to the time it takes our sales representatives to use these workflows, where they get slowed down, and which contract types and which workflows are slowing them down, so that we can hopefully, figure out what we can do internally to get those processes more aligned, and again, maybe provide additional training or just revamp. So we're going to be paying attention to a lot of different things. And that's another thing that I appreciate about AUTTO is having that ability to go in and see exactly the workflow, the user data. So we know when they're using it, how long it takes them to get through, and just the overall engagement too.
Fantastic. Well, look, I think it would be great at this point to open to sort of questions from everybody. So we've got a question from Helen. How complex a system can you develop without having someone on point who can actually code? So Charlotte, so let me hand that over to you first, because you are not a developer. As we heard, you're a paralegal. You're a subject matter expert by training, not a developer. How easy or difficult have you found it to build, complex workflows in AUTTO?
I dove right in. I think we had this conversation early on. The sandbox is my favorite place to play. I have absolutely zero development background. So I came in with no coding experience. I love process and procedures. Obviously, I'm in legal ops. So I love the logic pathways, and I really like thinking about things and breaking them down like that. So the ability to just drag and drop those actions and the visuals, like, okay, that's a form, that's easy for me, because then I can lay it out sort of like a mind map. And sometimes I do. Sometimes I just have actions everywhere, like sort of like my notes, until it all comes together. So really, I think it's very straightforward, very user friendly, and that's one of the reasons that I appreciate using AUTTO is the ability to go back and make those changes rapidly if I need to.
Fantastic. I mean, I think, on just to talk about some of the other scenarios we're dealing with outside of Olive AI, what AUTTO enables you to do is take relatively simple steps and layer them on top of one another. And by building up those simple steps, you can build really very complex workflows and indeed groups of workflows. I mean, one of the most interesting things we've done recently is enable you to trigger another workflow, trigger one workflow from another workflow, or indeed move a user between workflows. And that enables you, in fact, to begin to build groups of workflows to form a whole operational system.
And really, to the cross-functional alignment point, that was the slide that was a little messed up. That allows us to really, not to brag, but we have 6, 7 different maneuvers. I mean, we definitely have multiple different logic pathways. I think there's 4 or 5 different workflows that the user can now jump to just from one portal. So we're definitely taking advantage of those features and giving people that one place to go and then jump to any other robot or workflow that they need depending on that request type. So huge plus.
How does AUTTO address security concerns and requirements? So I guess we address those in 2 different ways. First of all, we have built AUTTO as a cloud native application with security at its core from the start, and the architecture has security built in. The second is that we realized that we have to be operating as a business in a secure way, as well as having the technological security there. And so what that means is that we have got ourselves certified as ISO 27001, which is the international standard for data security. And that has caused us to create a sort of a company-wide security management system, which we actually run in AUTTO quite a lot. Actually, large chunks of it are built in AUTTO, and that means that we ensure that our security is kept under constant review. And from the technological perspective, there's a encryption at rest, in transit, at all points, and the way we architect the structure of the system to keep data distinct are obviously really important points. Now, that's another question. How does AUTTO integrate into other systems? What systems are part of your ecosystem? So AUTTO has really two types of integrations in place. We have simple integrations with actions associated with them, which are things like send a file to your Dropbox or to your OneDrive, or send a message into Slack, which is usually very popular with our corporate customers, all of whom are either on Slack or Teams. And but I think probably most importantly, we have, and it's what we've been using with Olive, is we have our API manager. So AUTTO, our philosophy at AUTTO is that you should be able to do everything without writing a line of code, and you should not have to be a developer. And our API manager enables you to set up bespoke API connections without writing a line of code. And in fact, that is what Charlotte's colleague Kirsten has been doing with building their Salesforce, where she's been building integrations to gather data and send data and update data in Salesforce. And she too is not a developer. And so that's really the kind of the gold standard of integrations as far as we're concerned. If we can let you build your own custom ones without writing anything, that works fantastically. Are there any other questions that people would like to ask? I'm conscious that we're coming to the end of our time. So, what is your customer support model for both implementation and beyond? So, thank you, Charlotte. So we have both in-app support for our admins, and we try to treat all of our customers as very high priority, and we try to come back very quickly. So there is an ongoing level of customer support. Some customers require additional support in their initial implementation, so they might require training or indeed professional services to help them build workflows, sometimes just because they don't have the resource in-house to do it. In fact, with Olive, Charlotte knows AUTTO well from previous work, and so they've basically been off and running. We've done nothing, but with other customers, we do provide professional services to either help accelerate them up the learning curve where they've got particularly complex needs, or to indeed build whole systems for them. Great. So I'm conscious we're now overrunning. So last chance for any more questions. If there are no more, thank you everybody for coming today. I hope you've enjoyed what we've had to say and found it interesting. And if you if you would like to ask any more questions or hear any more about AUTTO, what we've been doing with our clients like Olive, then it would be great to speak to you. Do come and get in touch with us, and we will follow up with you with a copy of this webinar afterwards. Great. Thank you very much all for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Charlotte,
Ian,
for your time and insights. And we look forward to seeing everybody here again, and hopefully seeing you on another AUTTO webinar soon. Great. Bye, everybody.